Good afternoon, and welcome to part two, hopefully the completion at least of the installation of this ignition system here. So I've got some items on my bench here again, and I've got a dual camera setup going so that hopefully when I go to set the timing on this it's a little more viewable. But first, what I want to talk about was I've kind of practiced doing this timing procedure a few times now, and on CH Ignition's website they have several PDFs that explain the timing. This one is not really as good as the one that specifically says set for single and twin cylinder engines. It basically has the same information, but on that website or on the PDF you also get this paper cutout, the template wheel that you can use. And I was thinking about using it. I kind of used a little bit of white glue and put it on a piece of cardboard, but since Harvey sent me his tester kit, I'm going to go ahead and just use this little protractor. So the next things that we need to do here is we need to install our rings, sensor rings. Now, just as a note, I have both glow plugs out of this engine so that it rotates quite freely with, minimal compression. So I'm just going to pull these things off. And the first thing I got to figure out here, I'll take that Woodruff key out, and I already kind of trial fitted this, is now that I know that this side here faces outward towards the prop, I'm trying to figure out how I want to orient this wire on here. It doesn't really matter, but what I think, if I do it like this, would it be easier if it went straight back? Or should I kind of do it up like this and come over? I don't want to have to mess with this too many times. One other quick note, last night when I was kind of looking at this sensor ring, I was looking at it a little more closely, and I noticed that this portion here that has the magnet actually had the set screws in it. This side did not, so apparently Adrian actually just kind of neglected to include the set screws for this, so I was kind of freaking and a little irritated there. But I dug in my parts bin and I found some set screws that work, so we're all good there. Now he says to put blue Loctite on them, and I may do that after I get this positioned. But what I think I want to do here is I need to try and figure out what the spacing is going to be, so I'm still kind of going back and forth on whether I want to just do it like this. Maybe I will. I'll do it like that instead of having it go like that. So let's just kind of start working this on here and see how well I got this crankcase shaved down to accept this, and it looks like it's going on there pretty well. So I'm not going to push that on any further because I really need to check the spacing. Put my Woodruff key back in here, and this, the magnet ring, just goes right on the prop drive. And I'm obviously not going to tighten that down until we get to the point of setting the timing. So it's just a matter right now of putting this in place here and then setting the spacing so that, well, let's see here if that's going to go. I just want to make sure it's not going to contact it, so I think we're probably good like that. So I think that looks pretty good there. Now our next step is going to be to install our protractor, find top dead center, and set the timing. So I'm basically just going to kind of throw this thing on here real quick. I'm not going to tighten it down yet. Maybe just enough to kind of contact it loosely and let it drop there. So I did have this C-clamp and this wire piece here that I formed from a metric piece of pushrod hardware, and I was going to clamp that on there and make it look really cool. But it turns out I did it several times and I always end up just cussing. So when I was at work today, I found a piece of some thermal insulated wire, like for windings of a motor, electric motor. So I'm just going to pull this thing down and use that as my indicator, and we should be good to go there. So here's the reason I have this piece of bamboo here. because I'm actually going to use this to help me determine where my top dead center is. Actually, I probably should have done that before I put this on. So let me take this thing off real quick. So I'm going to do the same type of thing like if I was going to set the valves on this. Now on the twin cylinder engine, this particular rocker arm here is the intake rocker arm. So I'm going to rotate this through, wait for this rocker arm to go down, and then come up. And this is the stroke that I'm going to look for top dead center on, just like I was setting the valve lash. So I'm just going to stick this in here and just feel for when this thing stops coming forward. And I can pretty much feel right there, this is my top dead center point right there. I could put a mark on here. I was thinking about putting a mark on there. Maybe I will. I'm going to put a mark right here. Kind of roughly indicates the top of the head there is my top dead center. So I'm at top dead center now. Now what I can do is thread my piston stop, homemade piston stop in here. I'm just going to leave it like that. And now I'm going to install this with it facing upwards and centered. I'm putting just enough tension on it. I don't think I've got that all the way in, so I'm going to pull this out real quick. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to re-verify my top dead center. Yep, I'm at top dead center right there, and it looks like my 0 pointer is. So now what I can do is I'm going to bend this pointer mechanism down so that I'm calibrating my pointer right now. I may have to stick my head in here real quick so I'm not getting any parallax error. Okay, so that looks like that's right at top dead center there. So I'm just going to start to thread this piston stop in here again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this clockwise till I get to 30 degrees. I don't need to have my piston stop all the way in yet. So I'm going to rotate this to 30 degrees. Rotate my piston stop in here. Now I'm going to rotate my piston stop in until it just starts to push that degree wheel. So watch it. That way I know, okay. That way I know I'm right there. Okay, so my stop is in place and it's holding the piston at 30 degrees. So I can go back this way some, and I rotate it back and it should stop right at 30 degrees. And if it doesn't, then I need to readjust. So let me rotate it off there and come back, and it should stop right at 30 degrees. Again, I'm going to stick my head in here so I don't get any parallax error. Okay, that is the point that I need the pistons to stay at this point. So now, knowing that that's right at 30 degrees, I can take this off. I no longer need this on here. I need to find my battery. Find my battery. Plug in my tester. Now I'm going to plug in my hall sensor. White wire towards the inside. Wow, and that ring is already right there. So I already had that pretty damn close right there. So now I need to get my small 1.5 millimeter hex key, and I'm going to tighten this ring up first. Okay, so we want to go till it's just coming off of that. Get in here on this one. Tighten this screw up. Okay, so in theory, this should be properly timed now. And that should be all there is to this. Except I see that I've got this misaligned here, so I'm going to have to loosen one end up and scoot it forward, but I think we can do that alright. So basically, that is the procedure for setting up the timing on this engine. Unfortunately, I'm not actually going to be able to test run this yet because the spark plugs I ordered from China have yet to arrive, and I really don't think they're going to be here anytime soon. But this is the process. I may end up having to do this once again because this ring here seems like it's not flush. So, but that's the process, and as soon as I get my spark plugs in, we will be able to run this engine. So hopefully those that have not done this before have learned something. I know I've learned something, and we'll see how successful I am with the first run. So stay tuned for that.